Welcome to a new chapter in the Blog Chronicles. My guest today is a 22-year-old entrepreneur and a recent graduate of the Wharton School of Business. During her time in business school, she served several internships in the areas of business development, branding, retail visual merchandising, and marketing. While a college student, she started a life and style blog called Coming Up Roses. Initially targeting aspiring college-age entrepreneurs, her audience continues to expand its reach to a diverse mix of online entrepreneurs of various age brackets. In less than 2 years, the website became her primary business. From her home office, she handles the daily operations of her online business, helping companies and entrepreneurs build their brand with custom branding, marketing, and social media strategies. And 3 times a week, she provides engaging, fun, life and style content for her growing audience. Let's now add the story of blogger Erica Ligenza to the Blog Chronicles. Hi, Erica. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Sure. So is everything coming up roses today?
Oh, absolutely. Always.
So, as a branding strategist, why did you pick Coming Up Roses for your blog branding?
So I chose the name after much deliberation with my mom when I was in college. And it was actually really difficult at first to kind of come up with something that was really representative of me. It's so much harder to come up with like a personal brand when it's not just your name. So my middle name is Rose. And my mom was throwing around ideas with me, and we came up with Coming Up Roses because I really liked the rose sort of metaphor in that roses are so beautiful. They're like this gorgeous flower that is the like desire of every woman, essentially. But they're not perfect. You know, every rose has its thorn.
Yeah.
And roses
That's a
blossom.
good song.
Yeah, really. But roses blossom and then eventually they die, but it's all about just kind of enjoying them at their peak. And I thought that was just kind of a cool metaphor for life, in that life will never be perfect, but just kind of along with the saying, you know, everything's coming up roses. It's all about really enjoying the moment and striving to live as beautiful a life as possible while you have it, and not necessarily focusing on the thorns that might come up in the way. So it kind of had like a metaphorical background, if you will.
Yeah, so it's pretty positive overall, your message. And
Yeah, totally. I mean, from the very start, the blog was always intended to be very inspirational and uplifting and encouraging. So any posts I do, I'm always thinking, okay, how can I make this so that my reader can get as much out of this as possible, whether that's inspiration in the sense of motivation to just feel more empowered and go about their day better, or whether it's inspiration on how to actually style something specifically or organize something specifically, whatever. It's all basically, how can I make my reader's life as beautiful and as inspired as possible?
yeah, so I noticed you call yourself a life and style blogger. Is that a little different than lifestyle blogger?
I think so, because anytime I thought of lifestyle blogger, I don't know. It just had, I don't think of myself as portraying this very aspirational sort of lifestyle for readers to just kind of look at and goggle over and envy. That's like not at all the intent. It's literally supposed to be very down to earth, very real life. Yeah, the whole lifestyle connotation just didn't necessarily feel like it fit. I felt like I was different than what other quote unquote lifestyle blogs would be. So yeah, I categorized myself a little differently, I guess.
That's interesting. So how would you describe your unique selling point?
It really comes down to the inspiration and how in tune I am with my readership. I think because it's very much a community and it very much feels like an ongoing conversation with my readers.
Yeah.
So that's what it feels like, you know? It feels very much like I want people to be able to email me or Snapchat me or tweet me literally whenever, like if they see something that makes them think of me or makes them think of something that I wrote and vice versa. It feels more like an ongoing dialogue, which just feels like that's the whole point. You know, the point is to be as helpful as possible, and that needs a dialogue in order to actually happen as such.
Yeah, yeah. So that sounds great. Who are you trying to reach out there? Like who's your niche or your target audience?
Yeah. So from the get-go, I always thought that my audience was very much kind of like your millennial female, your girls that are in high school or college,
Mhm.
who might be like a couple of years younger than me and might be able to look up to me in some way. That was kind of always a dream, a dream of mine.
Mhm.
But my actual readership is pretty diverse. I
Mhm.
just literally this morning I wrote a post on essential organizational tools for entrepreneurs and college students, and I already have comments of people who are saying like, I'm 40 years old but I have my own business and this is so helpful to me. So the
Hmm.
post wasn't at all written for a 40-year-old to enjoy. It literally says college in the title, but I end
Yeah.
up having people connect to it that aren't who I would have originally thought to be in my target demographic. So I'm not I'm open. I'm not discriminating against people. I'll just put the content out there for the millennial audience that I have in mind, who are
Yeah.
very ambitious and do a lot and have a lot on their plate and just really have a zest for life. But then if other age demographics connect to that, that's awesome.
Did you say you just wrote this entrepreneurial post?
Yeah, I just wrote it this morning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cuz I'm a Gen X guy and I'm interested in reading it. So
See, exactly. That happens all the time. And I'm like, I think that's just cool. It's like, it's not like people can't read it. If it connects to them and if it helps them, the whole point is to help people. So that's awesome.
yeah, it is awesome, Erica. So, like, how long have you been running Coming Up Roses?
For about 3 years, I believe it'll be 3 years in September.
Okay, 3 years in September.
Hmm.
Now, getting back to your niche, I have also in my research seen somewhere where you were called a fashion blogger. Is that also part of your niche, or?
Not, I don't, not really. I think when I think it all comes down to what I perceive of these kind of categorical headers to be and how I then categorize myself. But a lot of
Yeah.
times I think fashion bloggers are much more photography based, where it might
Mm-hmm.
just be a whole slew of their style shots and then maybe like a paragraph max kind of describing the outfit, saying have a great weekend, outfit
Mm-hmm.
details, and like that's it. Whereas I've never, ever, ever done that, and I never plan on doing that. So anytime I do have style, which I have sometimes just because I just love style
Mm-hmm.
myself. And if I ever have a style post, it's very much, okay, here's like a stylist tip. Here's how to wear something specifically and tips on
Yeah.
how to incorporate it with the stuff that you already have in your wardrobe. It's not just a series of pictures that you can only replicate yourself if you have the exact same pieces that I do. It's literally just meant to be like, okay, we're going with a printed cardigan. So regardless of whether or not you have a printed cardigan that's mine exactly, you can just go with whatever printed cardigan is in your closet right now and achieve the same look. And here's how. So it's much more tutorial based.
Right. Yeah, I'm an expert on cardigans. Not. So, speaking of photography and such, I've noticed you have a great profile on Instagram. Do you find a lot of success on Instagram?
Success in what sense?
Well, you seem to know. Well, let me ask you because I don't know your traffic numbers, but are you able to get traffic from Instagram?
Yeah, so Instagram is never though my number one referral.
Okay.
Pinterest always does it for me.
Y-
Whereas,
Okay.
but I definitely do get traffic from Instagram, and I track that because I have a Bitly in my where I can have my hyperlink in my bio and
Yeah.
on my Instagram. But it's never, never, never as much as Pinterest or even Facebook for that matter. I think
Yeah.
that it really comes down to whether or not I have a really compelling call to action in the caption of a post.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's never something where I see people just passively clicking over once they see my Instagram profile. It's always more a matter of I post something really interesting that day and have a completely like direct correlation to that on an Instagram post and then have the strong call to action in the caption.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can actually direct traffic to the blog from Instagram.
Yeah. I've got a lot to learn when it comes to Instagram.
It's a
Um,
beast.
now, maybe this wasn't you, but as I was looking around recently, I saw somebody had a link in like the post description. Is that now possible?
No, as far as I know, it's not possible. You can type out a hyperlink or a URL, but it's not actually going to link where you can click on it. You'll still have to type it into your browser separately.
Okay. For some reason, I
Yeah.
thought that. For some reason, I thought the URL was live, but maybe that wasn't the case.
No, I wish that would be a game changer for sure, but you still have
Yeah.
to type it all out at this point.
So you, I'm just curious how you
hmm
operate with Instagram. So do you consistently and often change the link in your bio to fit your recent post?
No, so I did that for a period, but then honestly, it just wasn't, I don't get enough traffic from Instagram to do that. The only time I'll do that is if I am posting an Instagram in reference to a post that was not my most recent post. So
Mm-hmm.
then I'll put the URL for the exact post I'm referencing there just so that there's no confusion or as little confusion as possible if someone just clicks to the main page and can't necessarily find the post that I'm referencing.
Right.
Otherwise, I usually just keep it to my homepage because if it's the most recent post, it'll be right there anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, Erica, why did you pursue this niche? I mean, what attracted you to it? It sounds like you're interested in mentoring.
I am. I love mentoring. So I honestly started it very much as the inspirational sort of idea. And it was
Mm-hmm.
very much like I posted one time a week when I first started. I was
Mm-hmm.
on freewordpress.com and it was very much like for family and friends sort of vibe. And it was
Yeah.
like because people had commented that they liked my writing style. So I was very much
Mm-hmm.
experimenting with that
Mm-hmm.
and going off of the whole inspirational idea from that as more of like a means of expression that also could positively impact others. So the whole niche that I'm in now, I think was more so just a result of taking it more seriously and expanding upon that. So it more so
Mm-hmm.
became, okay, I can't post one time a week if I want to really start seeing growth, if I want to work with brands, if I want to just take this thing to the next level. So that's where it just started. Okay, how can I branch out with my content in a way that's still inspiring and still somewhat in a niche. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
touch on a variety of topics, but I try to keep the whole value and inspiration as the underlying tone that kind of carries over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it literally just kind of was an extension off of that. It was, okay, now I'm posting 3 times a week. So how can I get creative and provide content that fits within my different buckets, as I like to call them, that are
Mm-hmm.
all inspirational in some way, but diverse enough that they're of interest to my demographic.
Yeah, that's right. I saw you describe something on your site about like a bucket. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how I organize my editorial calendar is very much in terms of buckets. So I have my categories on my blog, but then I actually talked about this in today's post, ironically, but I
Hmm.
have mini post-it notes that are in different colors, and then each color represents a different bucket. So whether it might be a series that I have ongoing, it might be a sponsored post, or it might be something that's like a one-off in some sense
Mm-hmm.
that fits within one of the categories. And then I try to just that's how I keep it balanced. So I don't want multiple sponsored posts back to back, or I don't want to neglect a series for too long or something, So it's just how I can visually keep track of my different content buckets to make sure it's balanced across a month.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So, what do you like about your life and style niche?
What do I like about it? It's very dynamic. You will never like literally every single day you can wake up and something new is happening in the industry, or there's a new trend, or
Mm-hmm.
there's a new just anything that sparks inspiration for more. And I think especially since this is such a tech heavy sort of thing,
Yeah.
um, it I don't know, it's just so dynamic, and that's just really, I think that's just a really exciting space to play in, and I think it very much feels like the industry is still kind of new in a sense. So I like the fact that I'm a part of something that's still so much in its baby steps, if you will.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a lot of competition in your niche?
Yes and no. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of people in the niche, but I think it more so can feel saturated if you aren't differentiating yourself in some way, or if you're
Mm-hmm.
just starting. I think it can feel very overwhelming at times, like, oh my gosh, how do I stand out amongst all of this?
Right.
But it's not, but if you're really doing the work and kind of setting yourself up from the very start to stand out, especially to the people that you want to stand out to, then
Yeah.
it's not necessarily as hard because it's really about cultivating that relationship. And once you have the relationship that you want with whoever that is, whether that's your audience, whether it's brands, both, what have you, it's more a matter of maintenance at that point. But once you have that relationship and have a name already begun for yourself,
Yeah.
you just build upon that. And it's not like some all of the people who start free blogs every single day. It's not like that's going to necessarily shadow you. It's like there's room for everyone at the
Right.
top if you are very pointed in who you're targeting and what you're offering. And like
Right. That
it's
is a
not
good
it's
point.
yeah.
I mean, I did some research in the niche, and I noticed that there's a lot of blogs per se, like you were saying, but
Hmm.
but they're not all. I mean, a lot of them are not as active as yours. They're not consistent, and they're not
Right.
they're not getting near the amount of traffic you do. So, you
Right.
know,
And I think that's what it comes down to. It's like it's easy to start feeling overwhelmed and start feeling like, oh my gosh, there are so many people out there. But when
yeah,
I sit back and think about it, it's like you can have confidence in what you've done, and what you've created. And I think I feel good about that at the end of the day.
yeah. Well, speaking of competition, I'm just curious, like, who are a few of your favorite bloggers in your niche, and why?
So it depends. So
Mm-hmm.
one, a lot of them are friends of mine now at this point, actually,
Yeah.
ironically. So my friend Morgan, her name is Morgan Tim, and she has two blogs. She has one called moslymorgan.com, and then she has one called morgantim.com.
Mm-hmm.
And her blog, Mostly Morgan, was kind of the lifestyle component. It was like a college lifestyle blog. And then she made morgantim.com as a business and blog related counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Morgan's posts because she is so thorough with everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the writing aspect of it. And I really, really appreciate that. So I appreciate when someone clearly spends hours fleshing
Yeah.
out amazing content. And Morgan does that time and time again. Like every single post she creates is like around 500 words or
Hmm.
more. And it is in depth and it is thorough. And it is so evident that she cares about what she's doing. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love and appreciate that.
So what's her
Um,
URL?
moslymorgan.com is
Okay.
the college lifestyle one. And then morgantim.com is it's TIMM, and that's the business side of it.
Okay. I'll put all these things in the show notes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then another favorite of mine, it's called Chronicles of Frivolity.
Hmm.
And she's the girl who runs it. Her name is Katie, and she seems awesome. But I love her blog because even though she considers herself kind of a more fashion and lifestyle blog,
Mm-hmm.
she makes herself very relatable to her readers. So
Hmm.
it very much feels like a dialogue. And in all of her social media, it very much is a conversation with her readers where she wants them to engage with her and tell her, what do you
Mm-hmm.
have questions on, or what do you need help with? How can I help you? And it feels more service-based in that sense.
Hmm.
So it works because
Yeah.
especially in this like saturated lifestyle niche, when you have your readers knowing that you can be their first resource when you have a question about what they cover,
Mm-hmm.
that's like almost a position of power in a way, because then they're going to want to know as soon as you publish the relevant thing to them. So I think she just handles her engagement very, very well, and I think it's really admirable.
Hmm. Yeah. That's. What's her domain again?
Chronicles of Frivolity, like Frivolity.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to see how she's engaging with folks
Mm-hmm.
online, and it sounds really impressive. So, who are a few of your other favorite bloggers in other niches?
So let me think. Melissa Griffin, she ran the Nectar Collective, but now she recently rebranded to melissagriffin.com. She's almost exclusively a blogger's blogger, if you will.
Yeah.
So her posts are just insanely in depth. She's a lot of great free content.
Uh huh.
She branches off to video content too, which I think is really, it's kind of at the forefront right now in terms of like bloggers using video content
Yeah.
for just regular old content that's not necessarily a paid course or something.
Uh huh.
But she's also really engaging in that sense. So she's one of my go-to like business blogs or like blogs about blogging.
Okay. Um, I noticed you mentioned video, and I
Hmm.
noticed you had some well done videos on your YouTube channel. But you haven't published a video in, I think it was approximately 7 months or so.
Hmm.
Why have you gotten away from creating videos?
So I ended up putting that on pause because it was just taking me so long
Mm-hmm.
to edit a video and go through that
Yeah.
entire process. And at the time I was still in my senior year at Wharton, and it just honestly,
Uh,
it was too much where I
uh-huh.
just couldn't maintain all of it at one time, and it was driving me crazy. So
Mm.
I had to like put it on hold. I still have all my equipment and I got a new camera and whatnot. So I have the capability to do it. It's just really time consuming. So
Right.
if I start it up again, I want to make sure that I'm in a position where I plan on continuing it and being really consistent with it. Otherwise, it's kind of a crapshoot at that point.
Right. Are you gonna consider maybe outsourcing some help for that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually thought of it before. I think it's more so just on the back burner for now, just especially given my marketing and brand strategy side of things coming in. It feels like I already have two full-time jobs, so
Right.
I might consider it. But I would just want to make sure that it was really relevant to the rest of the content that I was producing and had a clear correlation in that sense. So at this point, I plan on starting up on Periscope again soon, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really active on Snapchat. So
Oh, okay.
Snapchat actually kind of fulfills like the inner vlog sort of side of things. So I can connect with my readers in that sense and do so really often on videos on Snapchat, but they don't necessarily take at all the amount of time that editing and filming a full beautiful YouTube video does.
Right. And how can people connect with you on Snapchat?
So my username is my name, Erica, Erica underscore LIG. So yeah, you can add me on
Okay.
Snapchat.
Do you ever sing
Do I ever sing?
on
Yes,
on these videos?
I do. I do.
I couldn't help but notice all of the videos on YouTube of singing.
Oh my gosh, I did a cappella in college. So those are my a cappella videos will come up if you Google my name.
Yeah, it's an impressive group. Wow, these guys were
Thank you.
good.
It's actually John Legend's alma mater group from when he was at Penn. So that's a fun fact.
Oh, okay. Yeah, check it out, guys. You have a good voice. So,
Thank you.
um, speaking of, aside from, so you were talking about finding time.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where as a college student, it could be a little challenging. So aside from the time crunch challenge, what would you say are three big challenges to succeeding in your specific niche?
I think the biggest challenge that's on my mind as of late is how brand collaborations come about, because
Mm-hmm.
influencer marketing, I think, is actually still relatively new and it's only been until recently that brands are really starting to take notice of the possibility of smaller or what's called like the mid-tier blogger,
Yeah.
that sort of niche, if you will. So I think that's a challenge. It's a challenge when you are trying to be a full-time blogger or when you're really trying to monetize your work and you're constantly having to validate to people, okay, well, this is why I deserve to get paid, period. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's almost just more of a stressor after a long period of time, because once you have some really awesome brand collaborations under your belt, to have people constantly come to you like, oh, I don't have any budget, or oh no, like I'm sending you a $50 product, so that should be enough. It's more so just frustrating having to constantly be justifying, no, like this is why this is a really important and valuable tool for you, and this is also why you should be budgeting for this, because it's not just a matter of fairly compensating bloggers who have gotten to a certain point, but it's a matter too of like, this is a valuable marketing tool, so companies should be budgeting for awesome influencer marketing campaigns, because this is like a huge
Right.
direction that marketing is going in period. So that's a frustrating thing, especially since I have a marketing background. It's like I see both sides, and I'm always wanting to tell brands like, no, I work in marketing. Like, trust me, you should be investing in this. This is worth it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the bigger challenges. And then it's always a challenge to just kind of keep growing your traffic and growing your audience. It's like that's always something that people are thinking about, I think, or at least I'm always thinking about that.
Oh
So
yeah, absolutely. And another thing, people are always thinking about, well, I should say always, but a lot of people want to know, how do you make money with your blog? So I'm glad that you brought up this whole influencer marketing topic,
mhm,
because I noticed, like, I wanted to kind of just focus on your example of you did some promotions for Hickory Farms.
mhm.
And like I said, I get a lot of questions, how do you make money with a blog? So I was wondering if you could just kind of share the process, like, how did you hook up with Hickory Farms and get that, promotional, what you call it, a branding relationship, I think.
Mhm.
Um, or like is that a sponsored post? Or, how did that process take place between you and Hickory Farms?
Sure. So with Hickory Farm specifically, they reached out to me in,
Okay.
I think it was September of this past year. So like September 2015, I got an email from Hickory Farms saying that they wanted to work with me on an ongoing collaboration for the holiday season. So
Okay.
from there, we hopped on a phone call and they told me exactly what they wanted. So they had wanted 2 sponsored posts in October, November, December, all surrounding their holiday content. So for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the big sorts of holidays that are in that season. And then
Mm-hmm.
there was just 2 sponsored posts per month, and then all of these surrounding social media. They also wanted me to host a couple of Twitter chats for them,
Hmm.
and they had me do an unboxing on YouTube since I was still doing more YouTube stuff at that time. So yeah, they just
Mm-hmm.
basically outlined the deliverables and then they tell you their budget and you align their budget with what their desired deliverables are. And that was literally the scope of the collaboration. And then since we had a great time working together and I maintained a really close relationship with my contacts there, now
Mm-hmm.
they'll still reach out from time to time if they have something that they think my audience would be interested in. They'll just reach out, or if they need me in some capacity, like I hosted a Twitter chat for them yesterday, actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so if as long as you have a successful collaboration, especially if you're working directly with the brand, I'll oftentimes have an ongoing relationship just because I really value that from an influencer standpoint, and I
Mm-hmm.
see the value in that from a marketing standpoint. Having that established, repeated collaboration is really valuable.
Yeah, so they reached out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think that's more, is it because of your influence in the niche, or is it because of your marketing background, or
I
both?
actually think it's neither because I'm not a food blogger, So I was pretty shocked when they first reached out to me because I think I was one of the few lifestyle, quote unquote, bloggers that they
Mm-hmm.
were reaching out to. A lot of people are more so food bloggers because Hickory Farms is obviously cheese and
Yeah.
meats and whatnot. Um, I think they reached out to me because they really valued the content and they had been reading a lot of my posts and really liked my writing style. They really liked my engagement rate that I
Mm-hmm.
had, and how many comments I would be getting per post. And they could tell that my audience was really engaged with what I was saying. And
Yeah.
they loved my writing style because I have a really clear writing style, and writing, I think, comes
Mm-hmm.
across very clearly as being one of kind of the baby of the blog, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think it was literally more so that they just wanted to see how I could create a story around their brand.
As a business major, did you minor in English, or where do you think that writing talent comes from?
I just always loved writing. My mom would always joke with me that when I was like in first and second grade and the teacher would say, write a paragraph, I would write at least a page, probably 3 pages. Like I always was just
Yeah.
a pretty precocious writer. I always loved it.
Yeah.
I wrote for like my city newspaper when I was in high school and interned with them and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
I always just loved it. I always loved writing. I always did as much of it as I could, and it was always a really cool creative outlet for me.
Yeah.
So it literally was just a natural extension off of that.
Yeah, everything you just described, we have that in common. So when it comes to writing.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember in third grade, everyone had to write a story, and mine was like 3 pages long, which as a 9-year-old it was like 3 times longer than everybody else's. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I think that's how you could tell from a young age, like, all right, they really like to write.
Yep, absolutely. And then there's also, I've noticed you take wonderful photos. Do you do all that yourself too?
Well, thank you. It depends. So when they're photos of me, like any style photos, I'm not taking those myself. My mom's fantastic. I
Oh,
call her my
really?
momager. Yeah, my
Wow.
mom will take a lot of my outfit photos. I'm trying to get my fiance into it, but he's not necessarily as into it as my mom. So I give the brunt of the labor to my mom. But
Wow.
then if they're product shots or whatnot, then I'm usually taking those myself.
Yeah, she does like some really good shots. I mean,
Yeah.
they look very professional. So
Awesome. Well, they weren't for a long period of time because I didn't even have a DSLR camera. So it was
yeah,
kind of challenging to start. But once I finally got myself a really nice camera, we took it upon ourselves to learn how to use a camera in manual mode,
yeah,
that's always fun. So now it's the process of figuring out, okay, how to make these like as professional as possible. So it's a constant experiment, but it's really fun.
yeah. So I mean, you've obviously monetized your blog with affiliate links and sponsored posts,
Hmm.
and you're working on an e-course. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So details are not actually released yet, but I
Mm-hmm.
can say that the course is going to be about if people are interested in working with brands specifically and having a unique way to work with brands in learning how to actually reach out and pitch brands yourself.
Hmm.
That's what the course is going to be centered on. So I'm really excited. That's a lot of how I actually do get sponsored opportunities is because I'm really good at pitching brands. And I'm
Yeah.
really good at negotiating with them and creating these long-lasting relationships. So I'm creating a course about it because I think it's really important for people to be able to do that, especially since this is such an up-and-coming and quickly growing industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's keep in touch, Erica, because I think that sounds like a course that a lot of Build Your Own Blog followers would be interested in.
Totally. Yeah. And it's going to start very much from the basics of how do you even prepare your blog to be monetized and how do you
Right.
even get a blog, how do you even make your blog be something that is appealing to brands so that you have like representatives from these companies on your blog and thinking, wow, like I want my product on their space. That's the position you want to be in, obviously. And then it goes all the way through pitching them and closing deals and pricing yourself and negotiating deals and all of that fun stuff, ideally so
Hmm.
that people can just really get the money that they deserve from these brands that need influencers to reach their demographic that they want for their products.
Wow. So your course is going to cover all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's my baby right now. It's going to be like the signature course. Yeah, I've been planning this and thinking about it for such a long time, and it kind of all just fell together once I started getting deals that were a little bit bigger in nature from like household names that were reaching out to me personally and vice versa. I was
Right.
like, okay, I need to help other people do this too because it's totally changed my life. So if it can do the same for other people who have similar ambition and similar desires for their own blog, like why not, you know?
Yeah. We'll get back to the changing your life thing in a moment. But as far as like to get to that point where, brands are contacting you and wanting, your blog to promote their stuff,
Hmm.
can you share like a couple of tips for a new blogger to get to that point?
Sure. So for me, I saw a complete like 360 degree or 180 degree, I guess, difference
Mm-hmm.
in once I rebranded my redesigned it and took it to the next level. I think it was February of this past year. I had been using just kind of a not that great blog design at that point. I hadn't invested in an actual designer. I hadn't invested in really strategically laying out my blog and figuring out, okay, what is going to maximize the amount of traffic within the blog, but then also be this appealing place and hub for brands. So I invested in a designer who literally just kind of completely executed the vision that I had in my head. And from that redesign alone, I have seen so much more. I have seen such an increase in people reaching out to me to want to work with me because it just looks so much more professional. So if your blog looks unique in some way and looks like it is a professional blog, then sometimes brands won't even ask me for my media kit at this point, which is hysterical to me from a marketing standpoint. But there are some brands that reach out to me with a number and a campaign, and they literally don't even know how many readers come to my blog in a month. So they just, when it looks so professional, because you put that much time into it, people they'll just assume, they'll know that you handle your work in a similar way because it just looks so professional. So that's kind of like the first thing that really made a huge difference.
Okay.
And then it's consistency. Yeah. Consistency is then the second huge one. I blog 3 times a week without fail. I blog Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I am getting better at this, but I'm trying. My goal is to have all of my posts up like first thing in the morning. I'm consistent across all of my social media platforms. So there will never be a period where there's just, besides with the exception of YouTube, but that was because that was experimental for me at the time. But across the board, I'm on every platform, and I'm on every platform consistently, posting consistently. My brand is consistent across all of the platforms. So I'll be posting similar types of content and sharing similar types of things on all of them. So I think that's something that's important to them too. So the consistency and engagement. I love starting conversation, and I consider myself to be pretty good at it at this point because I just care so much about creating that dialogue with readers. So there will be pretty many comments or pretty much back and forth on platforms as well. So that's always because of my tone always being really relatable, down to earth, super authentic. I'm not afraid to just be myself and let people connect with me and see the realness behind the blog. I think that's a huge help in creating these genuine conversations because people feel like they can just reach out to you to ask your opinion or to get, the post that you wrote about something because they feel like you are just their friend that they've known for forever or something who they would just call up and ask for advice. So it's really being able to figure out your audience's needs too and start a conversation that is compelling enough to them to create that dialogue because that means that they trust you. So if brands see you having that sort of conversation with your readers and having your readers be that engaged where they genuinely care about what you're saying and genuinely ask, well, what is your opinion on this? The brands are going to know that your readers trust you because they see them taking your word and implementing it in their lives. So that's the point where you're truly developing influence, and where you're not just writing things and hitting publish and then having people view it and calling it a day. Once you're actually starting that conversation and it's the two-sided conversation, I think that's when the doors of influence truly open, and that's where brand collaborations start to happen because they want to make sure that your readers are truly engaged in a way that they would consider buying something if you recommended it.
So as someone who is so effective at engaging with an audience, what do you think about the term transparency? Like, is something, how far do you go to be transparent?
Sure. It depends on the platform. And I read a really good article about this not too long ago about the idea of authenticity and how too much and too little is not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
This comes from building a brand, period. If a brand, you have to still be careful and tasteful in terms of crafting something. So it still has to be on brand. So it can't be too transparent where obviously everything is coming up roses, but I posted a post about what it's like to deal with anxiety, and I'll post things about, okay, not feeling too hot, but like I'll still try to spin it in a way that still points toward the brand. So I'll still be, it's not like 100% transparency where I'm showing like pictures mid breakdown or something like this is what I'm going through at this moment. But
Right.
I'm still not afraid. I'll still acknowledge that and still say like, this is something that I'm dealing with right now. If you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with something similar, here's how we can kind of get through it together. I did this
Hmm.
yesterday on my, and it depends on the platform. Like I did this yesterday on my Snapchat because I think Snapchat, because of that real time,
Mm-hmm.
it just has a much more real and authentic feel. So I was stressed out during the day yesterday and I went on Snapchat and said that, and people can relate to that then, but it's something where you're not necessarily posting your stressed out, wigged out self on Instagram, because Instagram is just much more a visual, it's like an aesthetic, it's an aesthetically pleasing sort of visual curation of things that are
Mm-hmm.
all beautiful and pretty, and people don't want to see your breakdown on Instagram, but they do want to hear your real talk on Snapchat or read a tweet that's really real and down to earth. So it just depends on the platform. And I think being able to leverage that is a way that it's kind of to get the best out of every world in that sense then too.
I would love to get your take on this. Now, for bloggers that are interested in promoting products or being an influencer, there's a certain percentage out there now that like cuss, because you were talking about, being tactful at times and things like that. But what do you think
Mm-hmm.
about the blogger that like totally just says whatever's on his mind and cusses? And does that actually help them or hurt them when it comes to earning an income as an influencer?
I think it depends on the brand they're trying to work with,
Mm-hmm.
because if they wanted to work with a brand that was in line with, maybe if the brand is more rough and tough and really edgy, and maybe the brand is a little bit more, out there with their own messaging, that might be
Mm-hmm.
perfectly in line. Whereas if they want to work with like a Procter and Gamble brand, for example, when Procter and Gamble is very much kind of more family oriented in a
Right.
lot of their products, that messaging won't carry over well to Procter and Gamble's ideal client. Therefore, Procter and Gamble is not going to want to work with that blogger. So it depends on who you're trying to actually target, because you have to think the brand's audience is, they're the people that have to be receptive to what you're doing. So because that's how the brand will want to work with you, they want to know that their ideal client will be reading your blog and therefore want to buy from them more. So it depends. I like to think of it as
Mm-hmm.
like if you were meeting the CEO of the brand that you're trying to work with, would you say those things in person? If you would,
Mm-hmm.
because that's just who you are and you'd be very comfortable doing that, then do it, because that's how your brand, that's how you're carrying your brand, and you have to stay true to that. Whereas if
Right.
you would definitely not be comfortable doing that and you would feel awkward and feel like you'd have to be someone else in that sort of situation, then either don't act like that if you want the brand deal, or it's probably not the best brand fit at that time. If there's such a disconnect where you feel like you have to overtly filter yourself or change who you are in a way. If it's just a
Right.
matter of like keeping out a couple of cuss words to make it more family friendly for bigger brands, that's different. If you're dropping F-bombs all the time, like that
Right.
might be that's a bit more of a chronic issue, I think.
So you think it depends on their personality?
Yeah, I think it depends on their personality and the brand that they're building and whether or not it's in
Mm-hmm.
line with that or not.
Do you think it could be used like as a differentiation USP tool? Because like take the blogging how to blog niche. There's some people that are edgy and some people that are not. So.
It really comes down to what their audience is receptive to. Because
Mm-hmm.
some people like it if you're, a little bit more rough and tough and edgy and dropping
Mm-hmm.
some swear words now and then, because they find it to be more relatable, and they'll listen to you more because they feel like you're their best friend giving them advice. Whereas the
Right.
opposite might be true for a separate audience, because for some people, the second you drop an F-bomb in a public or more professional sort of setting, they might completely discredit everything you're saying because they find it to be unprofessional.
Right.
So it totally depends on which of those categories of people are the ones that are in your audience, because if
Mm-hmm.
they're relating to it and think that you're more trustworthy because of it, great. If they don't, and if they think that that makes you unprofessional and they don't trust your opinion because of it, well, now you have a problem.
Mm-hmm. So it's knowing who your audience is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're publishing 3 times a week now consistently. Are you using an editorial calendar?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Which one do you use?
Well, I actually have, I'm a sucker for printout calendars. So I have 2 separate printout planners. And the way I structure my editorial calendar, I have a Google sheet, an Excel doc that has all of my bucketed ideas. And then when I decide where I want that to be within a month, I use my mini colored Post-it notes, and I categorize them based on the buckets of content. And I post the sticky notes on the printout calendar directly. I find that to be it's so much easier than having to write something in with pen and then scribble it out 52 times, because that was a nightmare I had a couple of years back. And I like having things that are printed out and tangible and sitting on my desk right in front of me. So I use, right now, my editorial calendar is a Lily Pulitzer monthly agenda. So I just have all of my Post-it notes on their respective days, and then I can shift them around as I need to.
Huh. You know, Erica, I think there might be a product there as far as, editorial calendar and buckets. I don't know. Might be.
You never know.
Yeah. Something to think about. So let me ask you this. As a life and style blogger, if someone aspiring to, make it in that niche asked you, what are the 3 keys to success in that niche, what would you tell them?
Consistency.
Consistency.
And that's not even necessarily, though, just for the life and style niche. That's just for, in general, in what feels to be a saturated blogging industry. That's like a number one, because a lot of people will post only when they quote unquote feel inspired, or when they feel like it, or when they have the time. And that doesn't cut it in the industry right now, I think. So being consistent is key. Being willing to differentiate yourself in some way to purposefully stand out, I think, is also key. So it's easy to see what all of these successful people are doing and think, okay, well, I should do that too, because it clearly is working if they did it. Forgetting that this is such a fast-moving and forward-thinking industry that being the same as them, you're already behind them because they are already established and successful and succeeding. So being the same as them at ground zero is not actually going to get you far. So you have to think very early on, what is going to make me stand out and feel very true to my own brand, something that I want to be, what I'm known for in the future. And I think that when you do that very early on, so that all of your posts have that sort of underlying thing, like for me, it's very much based in my writing style, but that stands out. And then that's how you get brands reaching out to you once you are starting to see more growth on all of your social media and in your page views and all of that. That's when you start having brands reach out to you because of your differentiating factor, because that's what they'll notice you for. So that's a big one. And I'm not sure. I think just kind of having a clear direction and intention for yourself from the start. So whether it kind of goes along with consistency, but just being intentional about the direction that you're taking and not necessarily shifting too far from that. So if one day you're a life and style blogger and the next day you're like, I'm going to blog about some recipes, and the next day you're going to blog about sports or whatever, all of a sudden you just start muddling things, and it muddles things across the board for everyone. So once you have, okay, these are my buckets, or this is what I kind of am all about here, sticking to that, I think is also that helps you stand out even more, and it helps you stay consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people start out wanting to talk about too broad of a canvas of topics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key is to not be afraid of turning people off. I think a lot of times people start off very broad and very much like, okay, well, I'll write about everything because I don't know what people will like. And I think that works in the very, very, very beginning. in terms of literally just as a preliminary market research tool for yourself. But when it comes to blogging seriously, that approach just isn't going to work, because then you end up having like a whole bunch of random people who see one post of yours that they like, and
Yeah.
then they can't find anything else in the mix of all of your content that is similar or that floats their boat similarly. So then it's kind of like, why would they stick around?
Right.
So it needs to be diverse enough where you feel fulfilled and are covering the topics you want to cover, but still sort of like all within some sort of umbrella of similarities here, so that the same people can still find interest and enjoyment out of the bulk of your content.
Right. I mean, if there's something really interesting or dramatic in your life, you know, maybe that's okay, like once or twice a year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think the thing is, though, if for people who want to blog seriously and really start growing and working with brands and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times being too personal in that sense doesn't necessarily help,
Mm-hmm.
because if you think about it, if you meet someone in the grocery store, do you automatically want to know everything about their personal life? No, not
Mm-hmm.
really. It's like if they have something or know something that will help you, then you're interested, because by nature humans are much more selfish people. And like as
Yeah.
sad as that might be, it's like the first time someone comes to your blog, they probably don't really care about like your dog or your husband or whatever. They care about, well, what's in this for me?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to entice people initially by making sure that there's a lot of content there that's very value based and that really genuinely like enhances people's lives. I see
Yeah.
this all the time where people are doing like, oh, pin my pin for me, and it's like their time at Disney World. And I'm thinking, okay, but my audience isn't going to care about your time at Disney World, and
Mm-hmm.
people that are new to the blog won't necessarily care either. But if they're people who, if you are more established and have a following who does know a little bit more about your personal life, then that's where you can see people start to kind of bring in a little bit more details as they see that people are interested in, okay, well, now I get so much out of you and I follow you regularly and I'm a loyal reader. Now I want to know, like, what do you do on a Saturday? Or like, what is your personal life like? Now there's an interest there. But it's because you first gave them so much value and so much of a reason to care in the first place.
Right. So much good stuff, Erica. To wrap up, looking back from where you started to where
Mm-hmm.
you are now, how has your blog changed your life?
Oh my gosh. Well, when I first started, it was literally a complete hobby. It was a creative outlet while I was at Wharton to de-stress. And I, at the time, thought I was going to be a brand manager for like something that was related to consumer packaged goods. And now I'm a full-time blogger and I work from my house and I'm not corporate. And that in and of itself has been hugely life-changing, because I never in a million years thought that this would be my full-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed my life in the sense that I can impact these people who I've never met before and who have never even been in the same state as me. And I think that's just really humbling to know that I can put something out there and someone can comment and be like, oh my gosh, this, I needed to read this today. Like, this really changed my outlook on something. It's like, that's just a really powerful, impactful sort of thing. And it's,
Mm.
that in and of itself is life-changing to me, because it just makes me feel like I can help more than the small community around me. So it makes me
Mm-hmm.
just feel like I can scale my desire to serve and help other people
Mm-hmm.
in what I am qualified to do or in what I think I can do. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest things for sure.
Erica, if people want to get in touch with you or follow you, how can they do that?
Sure. So they can go to cominguprosestheblog.com. All of my social media links are all linked up on the right-hand side, right underneath my picture on the homepage. And there's a contact form on there also, as well as my email. So my email is just my name with a period in between my first and last name. So it's erica.ligenza@gmail.com. So people can reach out to me. However, I'd be more than happy to talk.
Okay, and I'll put links to all of those things in the show notes.
Perfect.
It's been a pleasure talking to you today, Erica.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Thanks for joining me on this latest chapter of the Blog Chronicles. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe on YouTube or iTunes and leave a rating or review to help other bloggers find us. If you want to chat, look me up on Twitter at Matt Loomis. Next time, we'll be talking with blogging coach and online marketer David Boozer about the leading indicators of your blog. Is your blog about to hit a growth surge or on the brink of collapse? Find out in the next episode of the Blog Chronicles.